I'm MarzGurl.
I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
Welcome to episode 104 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover Season 2, Episode 53 of City Hunter, titled Reunion After 20 Years. Please look after my sister, Mr. Saiba, Part 2. So when you guys hear this, it's gonna be Christmas.
It's Christmas! Yeah, we missed a week, and we kind of just didn't say anything. Oops. Things happen.
It is what it is, y'all. We have lives, and it's,
got overwhelmed. I mean, everybody had to get stuff done before Christmas, and now we're on our Christmas break, and Merry Christmas, and happy holidays of other holidays that some of you also celebrate. Some of your holidays are over already, kind of technically speaking, you know.
But hopefully you've still got the holiday spirit.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we're still gonna go into New Year, right? How many more days is that? Are we gonna record
like a week?
Are we gonna record another one for New Year? No,
I don't know, because like we might be hungover, we might not. I don't know. And then the weekend after that,
I don't really get hungover a lot. It's literally only happened twice, and you know what? Both of them have been New Year's.
I mean, that makes sense. That's when most people experience it.
It's literally the only two times it's ever happened.
Then the week after that, we've got a convention, so I don't know. Like, at some point, we're probably gonna miss another week.
Yeah, we're going to Anime Los Angeles, which is not in, like, main like, it's Los Angeles County, but it's in Long Beach. That is very technically Anime Los Angeles. It would kind of be like, I don't know another county that is also the same name as a major city, but like...
Well, it's like Anime Dallas isn't actually in Dallas, I don't think. I think it's out in Denton.
Yeah, it's kind of neighboring.
It's kind of like
know.
that.
It's like that. I don't know. It would be like saying a convention happened in Austin, but really it's just in Travis County, and it's like touching Comal County.
Well, it's like, you know, MagFest happens every year, and saying it's in DC is a misnomer.
Well, nobody says it's in DC.
I've heard some people try and explain it to other people. That's not accurate. It's just outside of DC.
It's literally Maryland.
It is still Maryland, yeah.
Well, no, DC's not in a state.
Well, no, you're right.
It's
its own thing.
It's not Maryland.
The District of Columbia.
DC is DC.
I know.
Okay, like, it's not. It doesn't even get to be a state, which is a whole different fight that somebody should have.
This isn't that kind of podcast.
And we can't. I don't have the skills or the time. That's not what our topic is.
No, our topic is City Hunter, and you were saying about our release order of episodes. There's something special about this one.
Yeah, like Merry Christmas, YouTube. You're finally all caught up. This episode is releasing concurrently with everything else on all other platforms, on Spotify and Google Podcasts and all the other places that it goes, that I genuinely don't actually know all of the platforms that it goes to, but it goes to a lot of them, like iHeartRadio, I think.
We're on iHeartRadio?
Yeah, and like Amazon Music.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're on those platforms, but I don't pay attention to how they're doing on those platforms. I genuinely don't. But I say this to say, congratulations, YouTube. Now you're not going to be seeing MokkoriPlay episodes popping up once every other day, as you have been for the past, like, half a year or however long it's been that I've been re-uploading the past 100 episodes.
But apparently that's working for getting us noticed, because somehow we got noticed on, I didn't even know this existed, there's a Reddit board for City Hunter.
I don't know how you didn't know that existed, but
I mean, I'm not on Reddit like some other people are.
Admittedly, I only go poking around Reddit when I'm like, hey, I just want to know what other people are saying about X topic, you know, and then I go and I poke around and I'm like, hey, where do people find, like, Mountain Dew Baja Blast? And I, like, go look up,
you know, necessary things.
Yeah, you know, necessary things. Then I jump onto Reddit. But no, I got alerted, like, this past week or so, like, hey, they're talking about you guys over on the City Hunter Reddit, and, you know, I saw all 6 of you. It was great. No, it really is, though. It was kind of nice to see somebody say, oh, I don't think this has been promoted here before, but I found that they've been doing this for a while, and they're gonna cover all of the City Hunter universe at some point, and some other people were relying, like, wow, you just made my day. And
some people replied in the resoundingly positive.
Yeah, that's nice, which is very rare for Reddit. You know, there's not a lot of niceties happening on Reddit. You have to go to very specific places to find those niceties. So thank you, City Hunter Reddit. That's very kind of you. What is also kind is I was looking at the Spotify Wrapped for the podcast, because apparently you can do that not just as an individual user of Spotify, but also as a podcast host. You can look at your Spotify Wrapped for podcasts.
Because I guess we're on there too.
We are on Spotify and I tend not to promote the Spotify, if only because Spotify is really bad for artists. And so after a while, I started, like, if you find us there, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But like,
we won't hold it against you for listening there.
Yeah, no, of course not. I'm just not gonna go out of my way to tell people to listen there. It's why I've chosen
not beyond this sentence explaining that.
Yeah, it's why I've chosen to usually promote like Google Podcasts, and then I learned that Google Podcasts at some point in the near future is gonna go poof. So I don't know what I'm gonna do after that. Maybe I'm just gonna have to drop people onto Spotify. I'm not gonna have much of a choice. That having been said, so I'm looking at the Spotify Wrapped, and some people listen to us. That was nice.
It was more than I thought, quite honestly.
Yeah, a few dozen. You know what? There's a lot of people who have put it in their top 10. I feel kind of special about that, that's
quite
kind of
honestly.
A thing. Well, what was surprising to me was I was comparing the Spotify Wrapped stats to the stats that are on the podcaster dashboard, right?
Uh-huh.
They kind of display two different things. One of them, like the Spotify Wrapped, said that the majority of the listeners are from the United States, which to me makes sense. We live in the U.S., speak U.S. English.
Not the Queen's English, by any means.
I imagine most of the people that you and I interact with, generally speaking, are Americans. To me, that makes sense, okay? But then I go and I look at the podcaster dashboard, and it tells me, no, the majority of your listeners come from France. So
it would be. Of all the places in the world, it would be. Like, we got some of you in Australia, apparently. Somebody up in Canada, I think.
Like one person in Canada, yeah.
So shout out to Canada. But it brings me great joy to see that we are solidified in that the other country that's going to support City Hunter like we are the French.
Which, I mean, we don't speak French, so I'm assuming these are French people who are bilingual, which I would say is probably more common in France than it is in North America to be an English, like, you speak two languages. A lot of people in the U.S. pretty much only speak English.
Yes,
so, but you French folks out there, I don't know how you're listening to us, but merci beaucoup. That is the extent of my French.
Yeah, thank y'all for holding it down. We appreciate it a lot.
Of course you would be out here looking for a Do you not have a French Nicky Larson podcast to listen to? Maybe there's not one. I don't know. I would think that would be really weird. They should have one.
Maybe somebody's just translating ours with a French accent. I don't know.
That's not what a translation is. A French accent isn't a translation.
I know. I'm just saying. Like, either way, I am grateful for you all.
It's still weird, but thank you.
I'm just surprised it's more than 6 people, quite honestly. That's my big takeaway.
It's a few dozen, yeah.
So to all of you...
Like 50-ish. It's kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised. So, like, thank you all.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Buy a shirt.
Yeah, go to, especially you YouTubers, that's where the shirts are. They're over, like, go find the Spreadshirt store. The store's there. It's over on YouTube. Go there. We haven't bought our own merch yet.
We have not, but I plan on remedying that very soon.
Yeah, we should. We should before Angel Dust finally premieres at some point in North America.
Yeah, because we know that France is getting it here in, just a little less than a month?
Yeah, in January at some point. I think it was pretty near my birthday. My birthday's the 27th. I think it's somewhere around that point in time. Yeah, France is getting it. Congrats, France, because I guess you're listening, and so me telling you congratulations might actually... You might hear it. I don't know. Now I don't know. But I also don't know what's happening on our side of the ocean. I don't know when we're gonna get that.
Yeah, when you guys are done with it, send it our way.
Yeah, please. Where's it at, guys? Where is it? Also, can I work on either the subtitles or the closed captions, please? Can somebody let me do that, please?
That would be a great Christmas/birthday present for you.
For me.
And me. I mean, not really. It's solely for you. Because that's not my line of work.
No, but you can say, yeah, my wife did that.
I mean, I do that for a lot of things you do.
You do. It's very nice of you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So today's episode is going to be picking up where we left off with this 2-parter of the introduction of Kaori's blood-related sister, and we'll just go ahead and jump right into it here, because of course, like with every 2-parter we do, there's a recap. So Sayuri is the name of Kaori's actual sister, actually related, not like Makimura, who was just, through adoption related to Kaori. Sayuri has inserted herself into Ryo and Kaori's life. Ryo Ryo realizes that she carries a lot of weight, actually being a blood relative, but he knows that she doesn't know what kind of life that Kaori is living, so he has suggested that they live all together under the same roof for at least a week, while at the same time, there are people who are in fact actually going after Sayuri's, not necessarily life, but her safety, because she works at a newspaper and they want her to stop running articles. And all the while this is going on, Sayuri is trying to come to terms with the fact that Kaori is not the kind of woman she imagined in her head. In fact, she's actually being quite sexist about a lot of things.
Sexist, and just like, she's super overprotective of this person that, sure, she knows she's related by blood, but she doesn't actually know her. And she doesn't actually know what makes Kaori happy, even though she's acting like she knows what's best for her.
And so that brings us to today, where after a fight last night, it's supposedly last night in the context of the show, for whatever reason, Sayuri has this big problem with guns, and she has tried to wrestle a loaded gun out of Kaori's hands.
And thankfully, that didn't get anybody killed. Somehow. I don't know how that happened, but Sayuri has stormed off. She's blaming Ryo for putting Kaori in the situation and turning her into this unfeminine type person.
This killing machine.
Despite the fact that Kaori is quite happy doing what she's doing.
And also technically not killed anybody.
I mean,
yeah.
Canonically? No.
I mean, even in this episode, we're gonna be kind of iffy about that, quite honestly.
Well, no, not really, because you're gonna see the person that you think should be dead, but then you're gonna see that person is not dead. So, no, it should have killed him, but he's fine.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah.
I did not confirm that for myself.
What are you talking about? We saw him, like, limping on the floor. He's alive. He's just hurt.
Okay, alright, fine. If it's just a flesh wound, we'll go with that. So here at the beginning of the episode, we see that Kaori and Sayuri are out on the street just going around town, and, as I always need to point out, Kaori's wearing the good jacket. Sidebar, if any of you cosplayers are out there listening to this, please help us commission a jacket for Kaylin to get the good jacket.
It's that teal blue, that light sky blue jacket, and it's got the CH for City Hunter on the back. Like, I wouldn't mind having that jacket.
Will pay.
It's a nice jacket. It's like a Letterman's kind of jacket.
Like a bomber jacket, kind of.
I don't know about bomber.
Halfway bomber, halfway Letterman's, point being. And as they're out on the street, Ryo is following them from a distance, as he normally does, because he's so overprotective of Kaori, and they've done this song and dance a number of times already. And it would seem that for today, Sayuri's one and only focus is to make sure that she feminizes the hell out of Kaori. So we're doing this like Pretty Woman overhaul makeover.
Right.
Like they're just pouring makeup and product on her face. She's trying to get her into the frilliest dresses.
Kaori's kind of freaking out about it. Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And mind you, Ryo has also followed them because he's trying to check up on them and make sure that they're fine, because this is what he does. We know this is what he does. Mm-hmm. We know that even though they say, yes, this is Kaori's job, that she gets to work, Ryo's always there to kind of check, just to be extra protective, and he's watching this happen, and he's just kind of going, wait, what's going on now? Like, he does not understand why she's getting all primmed up.
And you see, like, the outcome of all of this makeover is Kaori in, honestly, very nice makeup. Her hair's done very well. She's got this real frilly dress with, like, a choker.
I thought the choker was a bit much. Like, I thought it was a bit too big.
I mean, it is a very 80s dress.
The dress is very 80s. I just don't know. Even in the 80s, I feel like that choker would have been too big. Maybe it's just me.
I think it was the color. If the color was different, because it's a very...
It was a bright red choker, and the dress was a very light, kind of purpley, very light.
Lighter than lavender, but it wasn't white and it wasn't purple.
Yeah.
But you couldn't call it lavender because it wasn't the right shade. And Kaori, you know, she's very taken aback by all this. Like, oh my god, you're being so nice to me. Like, you know I can't afford this stuff, right?
And Sayuri's just like, it's okay. This is a gift. I want you to feel pretty, and you look gorgeous. So please, take this. And Kaori's like, thank you. Then let me just go get changed and we'll check out with this stuff.
And she's like, no, don't change it. I want you to keep it on. Let people see you. Let people see the woman you are.
And Kaori might have been okay with that, but she does say, oh, well, that's nice and all, but the thing is, I'm on a job trying to protect you right now, and Ryo told me I shouldn't dress too feminine when I'm doing this kind of work, which is probably true, you know, like, she's in these heels that she's probably not all that used to. Like, we've seen her wear heels or pumps before, before, but not like stiletto kind of really tall high heels like these are, and I don't think she's necessarily super skilled at doing work in those kind of shoes.
Well, because at base, I get a bit of advice that Rio was given is that, if you're on the clock, dress functional.
Right.
Like, if you gotta run, you'd be better off in jeans.
Right.
So that makes sense. But Sayuri doesn't see that the way Rio and Kaori seem to see it. She takes this as, oh no, he's taken away your femininity. He's robbed you of that.
I see how she could have come to that conclusion, especially if there is any part of Kaori that may have enjoyed dressing like that just a little bit. And I think she does sometimes. We've seen her wear nice, pretty things on the occasion, right?
Well, yeah, it's not like we haven't seen her or talked about, like, the cases where she's wearing, like, a pencil skirt or something like that. And that's not very functional.
No, it isn't very functional, but I think it could be more functional, if more revealing, than the kind of clothes that she was being put into this time. But the other thing that I was thinking was Rio saying, no, you need to dress more functional and less feminine if you're doing these jobs. But at the same time, he rags on her for
not looking feminine?
For not looking feminine. And, that seems kind of shitty at first glance.
I can see that how that would be like a mixed message.
Sure. And that's kind of what I mean is that I think, like, he rags on her, but he put her in that position to begin with, and so for that reason, I think he knows that, and I think he's just dicking with her. Once again, when he rags on her, he knows that she only looks that way because he gave her those instructions?
Well, because, like, if we want to go ahead and have this conversation here, when you look over the entirety of the series, really the core anime episodes, not necessarily the movies, you see that Kaori kind of has a very eclectic fashion sense.
Sure, she wears lots of stuff. She's got all kinds of different ways of looking.
Like, she's got skirts, she's got jeans, she's got jumpsuits.
Yeah.
These weird flight suits that she wears every so often. So I feel like, one, it's kind of cool, like, to me anyway, she's in her own way kind of a fashion icon, like, not being beholden to one particular style.
That does make me want to run an account that is just Kaori fashion, and it's just screenshots of her wearing literally a bajillion different things. And I think that is just a testament to how much creativity Hojo has in putting her in different stuff. Because I know we're talking about the anime right now, but it's inspired a lot by Hojo's original manga, of course. And it's interesting that they have shoehorned Rio into usually a singular outfit, so that their main character is extremely recognizable. But their other main character, because I dare say Kaori is also a main character.
She's equal to Rio, yes.
Basically equal, because they're technically both city hunters.
They are both city hunters, yes.
She wears all kinds of things, all the time. She's changing clothes constantly, and so to be able to say, oh, this is the Kaori look, the closest might be this with the city hunter bomber jacket.
Yeah, what we call the good jacket.
This might be the closest one, but even then she only wears it so often by comparison to everything else she wears almost as equally.
Well, I mean, like, quite honestly, I think the only other outfit that she wears as often as this one is one of the flight suits that she sometimes wears, like the coveralls.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't feel like that's necessarily more her. Like, she's wearing it in the opening for Sarah, but I don't think, like, I've never defined her in my head as, oh, that's the Kaori look.
Right.
Like, I would say it's this, or maybe like the receptionist outfit, as we refer to it. Maybe it's those and the kind of like white denim jacket and jeans that they're putting her in for like Shinjuku Private Eyes or Angel Dust.
I guess, but I don't like her hair in those movies.
Oh no, her hair, that mullet's gotta go.
Yeah.
Quite honestly. But the other thing I wanted to bring up here is, like you're saying, or kind of like we're both agreeing on, it's kind of a mixed message from Rio to rag on her for dressing feminine, but also to say, dress practically. How much of that is based in he's telling her to basically dress less feminine, if only to hide for himself, I need to focus on lying to myself that I'm less attracted to you than I am?
I mean, it could be. Like, we're analyzing something that is kind of between the lines and not straight up told to the audience.
Well, because if there's one thing we've seen about their relationship is there are layers to it of, I guess, kind of a level of protection of lies that they tell themselves.
And I think, like, this is gonna come up when I talk about the difference between this anime episode and the manga chapters that it's pulling from, of which there are not that many, but it does prove that Ryo is putting up layers of lies for the sake of protecting either himself or Kaori or the both of them.
Yes. But to get back to it, admittedly, yes, all of this is kind of overwhelming to Kaori. Like, Sayuri is kind of like love-bombing her in a way. And so, yeah, if you're doing that too much, it's going to put somebody on notice. And so Kaori has to ask her straight up, look, I get that you're being nice, but I gotta know, why are you being so nice to me? Why all of this all of a sudden?
And so she starts to get a little bit honest. Sayuri starts saying, well, you know, I have a sister. She's a long-lost sister. I haven't seen her since we were extremely young, and my sister would have been, about your age by now. And I really feel like you're just so much like my sister, and I just kind of want to dote on you. In fact, I need to tell you something. But she doesn't really get the chance to get the whole thing out that she wants to tell her.
Because this Cadillac pulls up alongside them.
Get in the car! It goes about that fast.
Yeah, they get kidnapped by a bunch of guys. Kaori and Sayuri get thrown in the back seat. And you would figure, like everybody in the show knows, Ryo is somewhere nearby. And so Sayuri's looking out the window like, hey, did anybody see that? Ryo, where you at? Where you at?
And yeah, there he is. He's on the curb. He's on the sidewalk right next to where they were. But he's hitting on a woman who doesn't want to be hit on. And he's just kind of laughing it off after she's like hit him or pushed him or something. She like pushed him into the street a little bit. And Sayuri saw him. She saw he was right there.
She saw that he didn't see.
But her perception is, oh my god, he was there, but he was a fucking asshole, and he just let us get kidnapped because he was trying to pick up some chick. What a fucking dick. That's like what's processing in her brain. But she doesn't catch by the time the car is far enough down the street, Ryo just kind of gives a knowing
the side eye.
Like the smirk of, alright, let's see how Kaori does on her own for a little while, like, clean my hands of this, let her take care of this for a second, and I'll come in if it gets kind of bad, you know, but we do this a lot around here. Sayuri doesn't understand that, but we do this a lot around here.
Because that's the thing, like we were pointing out in last week's episode, is that Sayuri is not at all accustomed to their life.
Right.
They've been living this life now for the better part of 2 years, and so they are very much, and I think that's what I like about this episode, is showing just how accustomed to this life that both Kaori and Ryo have become.
Right.
And so they get taken to this, I don't want to call it a mansion, it's just a nice house. Somewhere, I assume, in the nearby area. I can't say it's the woods necessarily, it's just somewhere in an affluent looking neighborhood.
I would say it's more, I don't even know if suburbs is quite correct. I'd say it is slightly more rural, but not woods.
It's somewhere not in Shinjuku proper.
Sure. It is definitely outside city limits, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's go with that. And apparently wherever this place is has a prison cell in the basement. You know, good for them. You know, if you wanted to install that in a Japanese house, I guess you could do that. And so they throw these thugs throw Kaori and Sayuri in there, tell them to shut up. And of course, Kaori's raising all hell down there.
Of course she is, as she usually does. She usually doesn't sit quietly in these situations. She's not scared, she's mad. She's always mad.
And so the thugs go back upstairs where they have a boss who, again, like so many other episodes, is not named. And they report back, hey boss, why didn't we just kill him? Because we know we've been told we want the lady to stop reporting the news about a certain company. And the boss here with the golf clubs just says, nah, we can't do that. Our client said not to.
He said don't do that. We just need to have the journalist kidnapped so that the newspaper will stop publishing articles about them.
Yeah, so it's just a scare tactic.
It's just a scare tactic. Also, why did you guys bring in the loud one? We just didn't want her to make much noise, so we just brought her with us. And he's like, okay, whatever. Like, he didn't question it nearly as much as he should have. He definitely should have been asking more questions about who is Kaori and why is she here.
So at first when we're watching this, we're thinking dude with the golf clubs is the client. But it turns out, no, he's just in charge of the thugs, and there's somebody else in charge.
Right.
Who has set all this up, and we don't know who that is yet.
And you know what? you're never gonna know. Hate to tell you, you're never gonna know.
And so down in the cell, we see how distraught Sayuri has become, seeing the position that they're in, and she starts getting this swell of elderly sibling feelings of like, oh man, Kaori must be so depressed right now. I gotta go cheer her up. I gotta be there for her. I gotta be the big sister.
Tries to put her hand on Kaori's back like, oh, don't worry. Everything's gonna be okay. Kaori is not worried. Kaori is stuffing her face with onigiri, stuffing her mouth with rice balls, and she's like, oh yeah, no, we're good. Hey, you want one of these? Yeah, let's just hang out here. We're gonna be fine.
And at seeing this, Sayuri deduces, oh, I get it. She's under the assumption that Ryo's gonna come and save us. Well, I gotta tell you right now, Kaori, he was not paying attention. He was hitting on another woman.
Oh, so you did see him out there. You do know he was there trying to guard us and protect us. So Kaori knows this is what he does.
This is one of the few times that Kaori cops to the fact that she is aware that Ryo is always watching over her.
Yeah, and she continues to bring this up during this conversation too. Like, yeah, of course I'm not worried. He might come, he usually does. He's just gonna make sure that we're okay, and maybe he even let us get caught on purpose so that he knows where to go to do the extra research and follow up of who these guys actually are, cause if I'm in here, you know, I can't just tell him this is who these guys are. He can figure it out, and this is how we do these things. And you know what? I bet you he's gonna come up anytime now, because he usually puts a tracker on me. It should be right here in my blouse.
Unfortunately, Sayuri has to point out, Kaori, you're not wearing a blouse today.
And she has to, like, do a double take, like, oh, this is not the shirt that usually has the tracker on it. Well, damn. So she doesn't know how Ryo is gonna show up, but he's still gonna show up.
Because fortunately, outside on the curb where the Cadillac is parked, there is in fact a tracer pinned to the side, like by the gas tank.
Because Ryo, I guess, still had that tracker. He just didn't have it in the blouse. He was just carrying it, and at some point he just went boop. And it was probably during that brief moment where the car peeled up and they stuffed them in the back of the car, and he's hitting on this lady, but he just throw this thing onto the side of the car. But Ryo is coming, right? And he's in his Mini Cooper, and he's like, all right, here I come, I'm driving on up this hill.
And somehow very quickly, one of these thugs decided, hey, I'm gonna go check on the car. I'm actually gonna be a good thug. And he goes out and sees that there's something there on the gas tank.
He's looking at it, and he finds the stupid little bug. He's like, hey, what the fuck?
And just as he says that, Ryo sneaks up behind him and hits him with the chops.
Right into the, I guess, the back of the head or the back of the neck or something.
Probably back of the neck.
Knocks the guy out, and Ryo's got this big old fuck you look on his face. Just this really detailed, like, I'm in charge here kind of a look that the artists have given him. Meanwhile, Kaori and Sayuri are still in their cell, but Kaori's got a plan. She's got a series of things that she knows she can do, right?
But before she can instigate this plan, Sayuri is just in her own head, right?
Right.
And she's just cycling through this like, oh my god, we're not getting out of here. We're never gonna make it. I have to tell her. I gotta tell her now.
And so she does, because she thinks, she's convinced that they're gonna die. Kaori is not worried at all, but Sayuri's convinced that they're gonna die. And so she's like, listen, since we're gonna die, I have to tell you what I was trying to tell you earlier about my missing younger sister. It's you, okay? I'm talking about you. You are actually my younger sister. And Kaori thinks about it for a second.
For like 2 seconds.
And then just starts laughing. She's thinking, oh, you're just telling me that because you're trying to cheer me up, because you don't understand. You don't actually understand the situation we're in. This is very cute. This is very funny. It's very nice of you, trying to just make me feel better. Sure, we're sisters. That's real nice.
Here, hold on a second. Let me get something out the bag real quick.
So it is kind of fucking weird that these guys did not take her bag from her when they threw her in a cell.
Because Kaori is packing.
Packing a lot of, they don't even know. They're not even ready for this. She's like one of only 2 people on this planet, both of which are in this cell, who can just manifest large hammers of hundreds of tons in weight out of thin air.
I never thought about that for a second. If I had a nickel for every time I kidnapped a person who could manifest a hammer out of thin air, I'd have 2 nickels.
It's weird that they both happened at the same time.
And so Kaori pulls this giant-ass metal hammer out of her bag and just starts wailing on this metal prison door.
Which, you know, it does a little bit of damage, but it's not busting them out. There is a guard on the outside of that door, though, and he's a little bit freaked out. He's like, hey, what the fuck?
And see, Kaori, I love her for this. She was ready, like, oh, damn, that's not gonna work. Here, gotta go to plan B. And so when dude comes to the window to be like, hey, shut up in there. How are you making all that noise? Like, Kaori, like, grabs his hands and she's like, oh my god, thank you so much. I needed your help real quick. Hold this.
What is this? Oh, just hold on to it. I'm just gonna pull this pin right here. Pink. Oh, thank you so much. That pin was just stuck. You hold on to that, and I'm just gonna hold on to this pin right now. And he's like, hold on to this pin. And he looks into his hands, and he's holding a grenade, and he's like, hey, what the fuck? And boom!
It goes off there, and Kaori may have killed this man? Or if not, you were saying somehow he dodged the grenade explosion.
I don't know why you're deliberately not remembering the moment where you see his body just kind of tweaking out, and he's fine.
I guess because I was writing notes at that moment.
He's fine, and he's just smoke. I pointed it out to you, and I said it out loud, and I said, oh no, look, see, he's fine.
All right, then he lived.
I don't know how he lived. It was just a light grenade, I guess.
They don't have those. Light grenades are just fireworks. This wasn't a firework. This was a regular-ass pineapple grenade.
I know. Either way, Sayuri and Kaori are out of there now. They managed to bust that door down, but at the same time, Ryo's starting to bust his way in.
And he's here up in the office, and he's ready to wreck shit. As he comes up to the office, the guys, the thugs up there and the boss, hear the explosion from Kaori's grenade.
And these few guys are up here like, hey, what the fuck?
And Ryo busts through the door. Ha! That's my assistant downstairs. Y'all screwed up now. And the boss starts freaking out like, oh my god, I know that voice. I know who this guy is.
So he knows it's Ryo, but the other guys are like, hey, fuck this guy, get him! They don't know what they're going into. The boss is trying to be like, no, fucking stop, you morons! But it's too late. They're already trying to go in and take Ryo out.
And Ryo's like, oh, you're the boss of the Unryukai. I remember you guys.
And I was like, oh, a Yakuza family, right? Like, why do we know them? And thank God, they give us a flashback. This was from when that other journalist photographer lady was chasing Ryo around, convinced, I know you're City Hunter, and he's trying to be like, no I'm not, and pretending that he isn't, and he gets away.
He pretends he's his own twin brother?
Yeah, he pretends he's his own twin brother, and then actually gets away with it by wearing a Groucho Marx glasses and mustache.
Yeah,
that
specifically,
actually works for
that
some
was
reason.
this season, City Hunter 2, episodes 22 and 23. So for context, if you want to go back and listen to those episodes, you can do that.
So the Yakuza were trying to get involved with that whole scenario, and that didn't work out well for them. And Ryo was like, hey, stop fucking with us. And they were like, oh, okay. Well, this has now happened, and they now have Kaori, and, like, the boss didn't check. When he asked, like, who's that loud lady? Just some girl. We just thought we'd leave her in here.
Some Goyle? Are these guys from...
We just thought we'd leave her in there, just to make sure she wasn't gonna be too loud on the street. And he's like, whatever, what the fuck? I don't care. Just leave her down there. Like, he should have done some checking.
And now Ryo's coming in here like, so you come into my house, I warned your ass. I let you go, and you do this to me. You have offended me, sir. He's like, I didn't know it was her. I didn't know she was with you. My bad. What do you want? And he's like, all right, we might be able to come to an arrangement. I won't blow your brains out if you tell me who hired you.
And I'm just going to assume that he told him, because the audience will never know.
We don't hear that conversation. We're not privy to that information.
It's a company.
It's some other company.
And they don't want articles published about them. And I guess, fuck them, because I don't know. That's about it. Meanwhile, Kaori and Sayuri are still trying to escape the whole situation. Like, they got out of the cell, but they still gotta get out of the building.
And so they're coming around this blind corner where some other thugs are coming down toward them, and Kaori's like, damn, I ain't got a choice. And she pulls out the snub nose that Ryo has given her for protection. Mind you, they are in a dangerous situation. Kaori has trained with this weapon. She knows how to use it. But Sayuri, I guess, drank her dumbass juice this morning and again tries to wrestle it out of Kaori's hands.
And again, we're very fortunate that it doesn't go off in their hands and murders one of them, right? Thankfully, that doesn't happen, but a very stupid thing still happens anyway. Because now the gun is clattering to the ground because it's been wrestled out of both of their hands. Now neither of them have it, and now the fucking Yakuza has the gun. What the fuck?
Like, you've given them a weapon, and they're like, oh, hey, it's a real one. Like, I guess they're used to using fake ones for intimidation or something.
They thought, like, oh, these women wouldn't be carrying a real gun or something, you know? So they're like, huh, well, since you've got this gun, I'm gonna shoot you with your own gun. And he points this gun at the both of them, and he's prepared to shoot them. And I need to stop here for a second, because this is one of the two really important moments where, in the manga chapters that they're pulling from, there's a pretty big
diversion.
Not even necessarily a diversion, just there's this small chunk that's missing right here before the anime moves on, right? In the manga, he fires this gun. In the anime, he does not get the chance to fire this gun. But in the manga, he does. But when he fires it, he misses.
He misses wildly.
Just wildly misses. And he's like, hey, what the fuck? And I mean that in all seriousness. Like, he genuinely is like, I'm pointing this gun right at these women, and it just went just somewhere. And then he fires again, and it goes like up into the roof, into the ceiling. He might fire a third time, but regardless, he's finally like, man, fuck this gun. And he throws it down, and he just pulls out his own gun. And then he points it at them. And then now we are at the point where
we
the
reconverge, and now Ryo, in either case, shoots the gun out of the guy's hand.
Right. And it's important to note, like, this whole firing in the wrong direction thing that happens in the manga is, like, actually a really important story moment, and we're gonna circle back around to this later, and it's really interesting to me that this does not get discussed in this episode in any capacity, although, like, we have talked about this before in the past.
It does come up in the anime, but for whatever reason they decided not to include it where it showed up in the manga, which would have been this episode.
Right, and I can't for the life of me remember, because I know we've already talked about it on the podcast, but I can't for the life of me remember where it shows up in the anime. But it's come up at least twice in the manga now. In either case, yes, we are back. The anime and the manga have now reconverged into the same plot point. Ryo has shown up in the hallway, and he has shot the gun out of this Yakuza's hand.
And so Ryo's like, I've already negotiated with these guys. They're all gonna leave you alone. Sayuri, you're safe now.
And Ryo actually has this line that was, like, really touching. I'm trying to remember exactly how he phrased it. Just that Kaori had done so well or something. He was, like, really proud of her, actually. He was actually kind of being really nice to her at that moment, and she looked like she was really gonna appreciate it for about 2 seconds until she hits him with the hammer, and she's just really mad that she knows the reason why he's late is because he appeared to be hitting on another woman in the middle of the street. Even though she knows he was gonna show up no matter what, but she still wants a reason to, like, freak out at him.
But again, this is the same song and dance that they now know as their lives, is that any excuse that they have, she hits him with the hammer, he pretends he doesn't like it, they chase each other a little bit. That's their foreplay.
It might be. Regardless, the Yakuza are scared shitless of this woman with this enormous hammer. They're not even scared of Ryo, but they are scared of Kaori with a big-ass hammer.
And so they get back in the Mini, and they're heading back to the apartment. Again, like we said, they just briefly explained, yeah, it was some company that wanted you to stop printing those articles, but we fixed it.
No, I think we kind of need to address this, actually. Like, maybe we talk to the police about the fact that a company hired the fucking Yakuza to try and kidnap and blackmail a journalist publishing company,
editor.
Like an editor, like blackmail the company, blackmail a newspaper. Like, come on now. I think we have a much bigger problem. Like, what is this company? What are they doing that's so bad that's getting a bunch of news articles printed about them? What the fuck is happening out there?
And we don't get any of that, though, but Ryo does say, well, now we're going to get down to the real nitty-gritty problem now, which he knows is actually what's going to happen between Sayuri and Kaori.
Is Kaori going to choose to continue her city hunter life, or has she become attached to her sister? She likes the life with her sister. She might go be with her sister. Which one of these two would she consider doing?
But before she goes and talks to Kaori, Sayuri goes down to the gun range where, again, Ryo is practicing like he's wont to do. But while he's down there practicing, this is another case where the manga does one thing and the anime does another.
Okay, so it starts off the same, right? So Sayuri's come down there and she's watching him fire, and she says, this time it doesn't actually look like you're trying to shoot to kill. This time it looks like you're trying to shoot to hide the crying pain in your soul. Like, it's really dark. It's kind of a deep
Like, she's trying to psychoanalyze him down here. And he was like, oh my god, you figured me out. I'm so embarrassed. Oh my god.
He's trying to laugh it off, but it's totally fucking true.
It's kind of true, yeah.
So it is at that moment that the manga then, it cuts in, right? And there's more stuff happening in the manga that does not get portrayed in the anime. And we'll cut back in with the anime here in a second. So we need to continue to address the fact that Kaori's gun, when it was fired by that member of the Yakuza...
It apparently kept misfiring somehow.
So Sayuri's like, I need to see something. I picked up Kaori's gun. Here, you fire Kaori's gun for me. And Ryo's like, okay. And he does, and he misses. Even though I bet you he could have probably compensated. I bet you he would know exactly how to compensate.
Oh, he would know. He has to know, because... we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, but he pointed it the way you should point a gun, and it fucking missed the target entirely.
Right.
And Sayuri is like, oh, so you can't shoot with it either. And he's like, yeah, no, but, like, there's a reason for that. And the reason is... that's deliberate. I gave her this gun for this reason. Sayuri's just like, why did you give her this gun that's like this? And he's like, I don't want her to kill anybody. I don't want her to have that blood on her hands. I don't want her to relive anything even remotely like her brother who died doing this work. I can't do that to her.
We know the kind of life that we have to lead, and even on top of that, even though I know she has voluntarily signed up for this life, I'm doing my best to keep her from the gun violence as much as I possibly can.
Right. And that's basically this chunk of the manga that has been left out of the anime up until this point. What people watching the anime kinda don't know, and have we really not talked about it in any of the episodes of the... because we keep bringing it up like it's come up already at some point.
Well, we just know it as truth by this point because we know it already.
Yeah, I think it's just because we watched the whole series before in the past and I can't remember which episode it comes up in, but it should be coming up right now. It should be happening right now.
I mean, it does come up at some point. It's just not here.
So, like, every time you've seen her fire this gun comically, like, oh no, she's just so bad with this gun. Oh, it's so funny. She's so clumsy. No, that gun has been fucked with and she will never be able to hit anybody with it. And I think that would have been a nice thing to add to the anime too, if only because it does add this extra layer of comforting Sayuri as far as, well, even though she's in this dangerous line of work, this guy actually really does have the best of intentions for her and doesn't want her to do anything that's gonna harm her. Because I was so concerned that Kaori's being trained to be a killer, but the truth is, she will never be able to kill.
Because this guy is doing his best to make sure that never happens, and that means something to me. That doesn't give me pause anymore, that gives me relief.
Right.
And so at this point, Sayuri only has one real card to play left. So she goes up to the roof. It's already nighttime at this point. Kaori finds her up there. She's like, hey, what you doing up here on the roof? You see Kaori as she's walking up, and she's drawn very shoujo. You know, very nice, soft lines on her face. The coloring's really good. And Sayuri can't help but comment and like, oh my god, it's beautiful. And she's like, what's beautiful? And she's like, the cityscape. That's what's so beautiful right now. Yes.
But really, it's again this idea that Kaori is happy where she is, therefore she is beautiful because she is happy.
I mean, you can say that for a lot of things. Like, when you are where you're meant to be, of course, that's where you are the most happy.
Yeah.
And she tells Kaori, I got something I gotta tell you. I'm not gonna be around for much longer because it turns out all this work I was doing with the stories I was running, they got picked up in New York, and a paper out there wants me to come work over in the States, in New York.
And Kaori's like, oh wow, it's a real big deal, you know? Congrats, actually. That's really freaking cool. But Sayuri continues on to say, you know, I really did want to find my sister out here. I really thought I could do it. If I'm gonna go to New York, I wanted to go with my sister. And that's you, Kaori. You're my sister. So she tries to say. But then she, walks it back. Or at least, you know, we were living like sisters for this, week or however long it was that I was living in this apartment. And, you know, I really bonded with you. And, if you wanted, we could live like we're actually sisters and you could come to New York with me. I mean, you know, just if you felt like it but I get it, you don't feel like it. You know what, I'm just gonna go.
Well, no, she doesn't quite back off that much. Like, she gives Kaori a second to think about it, and Kaori does seem taken aback by this offer, but then she walks it back even further once she sees that Kaori is having to think about it for a second.
Sure.
And then she's like, lol, just kidding. Actually, I know I can't do that, because I can't take you away from the things that make you happy. And I see that there's at least 3 things around here that make you so happy. It's this city that you love being in. It's the love for your brother that brought you to this line of work. And I certainly can't take you away from the person you love the most.
And then Kaori jumps in like, the person I love the most, Ryo and I aren't like that. I didn't say Ryo. That's not what I said. And so Kaori has to realize, oh shit.
Kaori just told on herself.
She did a little bit.
And with that having been said, Sayuri's like, yeah, that's pretty much what I thought. I'm gonna go. And so she goes back down to the stairwell to go back into the apartment, and Ryo's there waiting for her, and he's just like, why didn't you tell her the truth? Why didn't you be honest with her about this?
Oh, I could tell she's happy. I can tell this is where she wants to be. I can't take her from that.
But what I can do is say, if you don't take responsibility for her, Ryo, in keeping her happy, you better believe I'm coming back here for her.
I'm gonna come back all the way from New York, and I'm gonna beat your ass.
Well, she doesn't quite say it like that,
Not
but it was
like
that
that,
kind of...
she doesn't believe in violence. But she is gonna take Kaori away if she thinks that things are not happening in her best interests out here.
And Ryo, for a second, in his own way, gets a little flustered, like, I don't know if it's like that between us. And she's like, you didn't deny it, that's what you want. You want to make her happy. That's what I thought.
You know it, I know it.
The Japanese people know it. Alright, I'm out of here.
She goes off to actually pack her things and leave. Like, she doesn't really do a good job of saying goodbye. But Kaori is now up in her room, and she's like, well, it would be nice to have a sister. You know, I don't know if she's really my sister or not, but, you know, it was kind of a nice feeling. And she's, like, looking at the dress, and she's looking at the picture of her and her brother that she's got sitting up in her room, and she really appreciates what her sister, as far as she is aware, she really appreciates what Sayuri was trying to do, and is just talking to this picture of her brother like, yeah, this whole thing was just kind of nice, huh? If I did leave, I'm probably not gonna leave, but if I did, like, nobody would be here to watch Ryo's stupid ass. I mean, that's why we had you here, Makimura, and if you're not here, it's gotta be me, and if I'm not here, then it's nobody.
And so we're back there at Tokyo International Airport the next day, and Sayako, of all people, is the one seeing her off. And Sayako's even bringing up to Sayuri, so how come you didn't tell her? And she's like, you know, truth is she's happy where she is, and I can't mess that up.
Even though she totally did tell her, and Kaori just didn't totally accept it into her brain matter. That's just the way that it went. But, actually, Kaori did show up, because she did want to say goodbye to this person who actually, you know what, she acted pretty sisterly. And that was actually kind of a nice feeling. And so, she wanted to treat this sisterly-like person real nice, and she dressed up in the clothes that Sayuri had bought for her. And she looks real nice and pretty all over again. And she's like, yeah, I wanted you to see me in these clothes because they were real nice and you were real nice to me, and I'm actually gonna miss you. I hope I get to see you again, and I kind of wish we were sisters even.
And I'm surprised that Sayuri didn't just break down right there in front of her, because she's like, oh my god, that makes me so happy. Like, she's there crying.
Right.
And like, Kaori, like, as she turns to, like, I'm thinking she's trying to create distance, because she's barely keeping composure together, but Kaori, like, hugs her from behind, and you can see she's already starting to weep.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, kind of like I was saying last week, what's going through her head right now?
And Kaori just goes ahead and calls her sister. And whether that's because she's accepting quietly, oh, this is a sister that I'm probably never gonna know her very well, but you know what, she is my sister, or she just feels like this is a person who could have been my sister. It kind of doesn't matter. They both end up with a very similar sort of a feeling, you know? It's nice. It's a nice thing, and I don't think we ever see Sayuri ever again. I think
we see maybe see her one more time, but I could be wrong. It might just be this.
And I think she comes up in passing in the Takarazuka production, because a lot of characters just get really rapidly.
They reference a lot of characters,
They reference a lot of stuff across both the anime and the manga, plus Cat's Eye. So, a lot of references in that show.
And so, like we see in so many of these endings, she takes off on Sunrise Airlines, not Airlines, they fixed fixed it this time.
It's crazy. They fixed it. Also, in the background, like, yeah, I didn't mention it a second ago, but when they were talking in the terminal at the airport, right? In the background, there's this weird...
It's a sign.
It's a sign, but it's like a station of some kind, like a
luggage check or something like that. I don't know.
Something to that effect. And there's a sign in the background, and it says son, spelled S-O-N, like somebody's child, their son, and then lice?
Like L-I-S-E, and we're like...
Do you mean sunlice?
Sunrise, you clever bastards.
Because they just have to misspell it in a way that is just Japanese sounding enough.
You sound it out and you realize they've done it again.
I mean, it could be sunlise, it could be, but come on, no it isn't.
No, we know what it is. We've been doing this podcast long enough. We know what's going on.
I know what they tried to do. They tried to be sneaky. But they know how their own company is spelled, but they were just being sneaky.
And as the ending theme starts to play, Sayako is telling Ryo, Kaori might know the truth now. It came out in more than one instance. Do you think that's going to mess with things? And Ryo just tells her, no, her truth is her truth, and what might be true for Sayuri might not be true for her. Kaori gets to decide that.
And Kaori looks like, you know what, she's found what her truth is somewhere in the middle of these two lives.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's fine for her, and if it's fine for her, then it's fine for everybody else around her. And I think that's the best possible decision.
Because at the end of the day, all of these characters, Sayako, Ryo, and now Sayuri, all of them are actually concerned with the happiness of Kaori.
Right.
And so yeah, that's the end of the episode. That's where we leave off on a nice note. If not somewhat bittersweet, because Sayuri didn't actually tell her and stick to her story. Yes, the truth is we are blood sisters. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, so long as they've developed some kind of relationship between each other, I at least know you're out there and you're aware of me and we can relate to each other and we like each other, then that's probably, if you can't have everything, that's probably the best outcome you could have had.
Right, I agree with that. And God, I need to go digging around on the internet and in, like, wikis and stuff for what episode this stupid her gun fires bad on purpose thing pops up in. Cause I'm not sure that I remember.
Cause it's one of two people that bring it up. It's either Umibozu.
We have discussed this. No, it's Sayako. Sayako noticed it, and I remember looking at it in the manga, and it might even happen in the anime too. Finally, when Sayako says, no, I saw what you did something to Kaori's gun, what did you do to her gun? And then Ryo is honest with Sayako, yes, I fucked with her gun.
Well, because it's also Sayako that is the one who finally brings up, you could have dodged that hammer, right?
No.
Or is that someone else?
That is during, like, the finale of this season. His previous partner.
Oh, maybe that's when it comes up.
It might be. I don't remember anymore. That's why we do this podcast, so that we can relive when it happens.
Yeah, so we're gonna clarify that for you guys and for ourselves, because yeah, that's a really big sticking point. That Kaori, her whole thing is that she can't have blood on her hands. Ryo is committed to making sure that never happens.
How many episodes are we out from this season finale now? Like another 10 episodes, maybe less than 10.
Maybe a little less.
Like it's like 62 episodes in the season, right?
Yeah, we're coming up on City Hunter 3 pretty fast.
Yeah, so it'll be within the next like 2 months, I think, that
we'll get an answer for that, I think.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe it comes up during City Hunter 3 or City Hunter 91.
No, by that point, those damn series, like, they're not actually addressing almost anything of any importance anymore by that point.
Like, I don't want to go so far as to say, I don't even know how comfortable I am making this comparison. I don't want to go so far as to say it's about as useless as Kenshin after the Kyoto arc, but I mean,
it's okay to say that because we didn't know back then. We didn't know that back then, so...
and I am not condoning you go look at that series anymore.
Right.
But I say that to say we're going to cover it, and we love the show. There's just not a lot that happens.
Yeah.
At that point.
You know, there's some fun stuff, but it's not super important.
There's not a lot of world-changing stuff.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, so I think it's nice, and I think it's a good episode to have for Christmas, that when you have those people in your life, whether it's family or found family or family that won't tell you that they're family, it's just nice to have them around and know that they're out there and they care for you and they just want the best for you.
I I think that's a nice sentiment for Christmas, even though we already covered the Christmas episodes much sooner than this, closer to like Halloween.
So, like all 50 of you listening, go ahead and listen to this episode, and then go back and listen to the Christmas episodes too.
Yeah, just waste your whole Christmas on us. That's what we would want you to do.
It's not gonna take up all Christmas. Like,
It'll take up 3 hours of your Christmas.
Less than.
Maybe.
And so next time on the show, there's a 17-year-old girl that Ryo has to protect. And I don't remember a lot about this one, but I remember feeling just a tiny bit icky about certain things.
Well, like, he has to be set up on a date with her to protect her, so, it's one of these, like, that number 17 is really riding that fine line of, well, what part of the country are you okay with people dating 17-year-olds? I don't know how better to phrase that. I'm stumbling over my words almost on purpose because that's how baffled I am that this keeps happening.
We'll get there and we'll get through it. It's unfortunately a two-parter, so we'll get through that as fast as we can for you guys.
Also, that lady is constantly pursued by dudes. That's also kind of weird. That part is what's uncomfortable to me, because dudes are weird.
Dudes are weird.
Dudes are
I
weird.
say that as a dude. Dudes can be weird.
Dudes can be weird. I gotta go.
Yeah,
we gotta get out.
We gotta get out of here, guys.
We should actually do Christmas.
All right, let's
go do Christmas.
Let's go do Christmas.
Let's go do Christmas. Okay, so come back next time when we cover the 54th episode of City Hunter 2, Proposal from a 17-year-old, Suspicious Date Panic, Part 1.
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on most social media. I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 104th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, Josh isn't getting any Christmas presents.
That's cool, I didn't get you anything.
Oh.
I'm kidding. So can I have my presents?
We'll see.
What, that's not good enough. Kaylin? Quit playing, Kaylin. Kaylin?